Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to do my spring 2024 favourites. So going through the things bookish and non-bookish that I've been really enjoying the past few months. As always, I do start with the books that I've loved the most, and we're going from the reads from March, April, May. Now I'm not gonna lie to you, spring has been quite quiet when it comes to reading for me. I had quite a slow April and then I've barely read anything at all in May, which you'll hear all about I'm sure in my May wrap up. But March definitely had some pretty good reads. During March I co-host and participate in History-a-thon, which is a month-long read-along where we are looking at historic women and reading books, either fiction or non-fiction, about them. My favourite book by far from that month was Blue Stockings, the First Women's Movement by Susanna Gibson. This is an 18th century intellectual history chronicling the lives of the Blue Stockings and the rise of women in intellectual spaces, carving these spaces out for themselves to talk literature, history, politics, art, music, both among each other and also with men. We're looking at figures like Elizabeth Montagu, Catherine Macaulay, Hester Thrale, Anne Yearsley, Fanny Burney, looking at the highs and the lows of the Blue Stockings movement, how they inspired future generations, but also the pitfalls of this movement, particularly as this movement were trying to be seen as being respectable, because being an intellectual woman in the 18th century was seen as anything but, and the lengths that these women would go to kind of protect themselves, even if it meant throwing their fellow women under the bus if they were to ever socially transgress. I thought it was a really great balanced portrayal of these women, and one that I definitely recommend. And then on the fiction track, my favourite fiction book that I've read in spring was A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. We know I can't resist a good Regency romance, and this was so perfect for me. I had previously read and enjoyed A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting, which came out in 2022. I've done a whole book review for this one, which I will link down below, but in short, this is following our main character of Eliza, who has been widowed and has been unexpectedly left a fortune by her husband. But there is a morality clause attached to her fortune. Should she bring even a whiff of scandal to her family, then that money will be taken away from her. She sets out with her cousin Margaret to Bath in order to set up a new home for herself and a new life, and along the way comes across two different men who appear to be attracted to her, and it's really this choice for her between a man from her past who she's very comfortable with, who she knows very well, versus a new man who seems quite risky but may offer more freedom and adventure. Definitely oversimplifying that plot, but I really enjoyed it. It's a very sweet love story, and as I say, more thoughts in the review that I'll link down below. Keeping on the Regency romance theme, I really haven't watched a whole lot of film and TV this year, even some of my firm favourites, but the big priority for spring was of course watching the first part for season 3 of Bridgerton. That came out a couple of weeks ago and I completely just tore through it. I'm eagerly anticipating the next 4 episodes. I was especially looking forward to this season because it's looking at Colin and Penelope's love story, and their book from the 5 that I've read so far is my favourite. It's the story that I love most. It means a lot to me as somebody who is a big fan of a wallflower romance, because you know, that's who I think I would be if I was in a Regency romance, and I really like what they've done with the story so far. You know, there are definitely criticisms that I can have of it. I think there are quite a lot of subplots going on, and typically the bit that I enjoy the most is Colin and Penelope, so anytime we cut away from them I'm like, no, come back. I am, along with a lot of other people, also finding the costumes a little bit hit and miss this season. They've definitely strayed a little bit further away from the go-to Bridgerton aesthetic, which is kind of Regency silhouette but modern colours, modern fabrics, and are just kind of going off on one. But I am really loving the dresses that they've got for Penelope this season. Nicola Coughlan just looks stunning, and yeah, like I say, really enjoying it so far. I had a big smile plastered on my face while I was watching it. So yes, more to come. In terms of theatre from the past 3 months, I have kind of just been going back to old favourites, which is no bad thing. I went to see the Come From Away tour with my mum and my best friend back when it was up in Liverpool, and every time that I go see Come From Away I think, you know, I've seen it so many times, you know, surely it's not going to get me emotionally as much as it did previous times, but every single time I end up crying even more. I have spoken to Come From Away in a bit more depth and detail in previous favourites videos, but yes, if you haven't seen this show, I really highly recommend it. It's just very affirming, makes you have faith in humanity again, and it's just so very emotional. Also, this past weekend I unexpectedly went on a second trip to see Hadestown. I was meeting up with a friend and she was going, and you know, I've wanted to go back to see it, and I thought, you know what, might as well do it now. I actually ended up getting some really reasonably priced stalls seats and had a fantastic view. And yet the music, the production design, the performances are just as good as when I went to see it back in February. Once again, I will link below my past favourites video where I talk about going to see it in February, because everything does still apply now. One that is kind of a theatre favourite but mostly a music favourite is the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella recording from 2013 when it was on Broadway, because I couldn't do this favourites video without talking about that, because I have been listening to this cast podcast recording non-stop. The main reason being that this is the next show that my musical theatre society will be doing after our production of Funny Girl in July. And yeah, I'm basically just brushing up on Cinderella because I am hoping to audition for Cinderella come September when the auditions come round. And I have been very vocal about it, and it's going to be very embarrassing when I do not get this part. But I love the music in this so much that I think prepping for it is going to just be the best time. If any of you grew up with the 1997 film of Cinderella starring Brandy and Whitney Houston, a lot of the music is the same, a lot of the same songs, so it's just very nostalgic. But this production had the quintessential like Rodgers and Hammerstein, quite classic fairy tale sound, whereas the 97 film was more inspired by Whitney Houston and Brandy's music. Which is good for me that this is the production that we're doing, because that is how I sing. You know, I can't sing like Brandy or Whitney Houston, but you know, who can? I only have one fashion favourite, and it is these sports leggings. Been slowly but surely trying to get back into going to the gym, and particularly going to my dance fitness classes. And I have been very regular with doing that. I thought to treat myself, I would get myself some new sports leggings, because it's genuinely been about 10 years since I bought any. And my mother has always been raving about Sweaty Betty and that I absolutely need to buy a pair of their leggings, but they are very expensive. They tend to be like between £80–90, which just feels like a lot of money to spend on sports leggings. But I'm here to tell you that these are very much worth it. They just kind of hold you in place and you feel very secure in them. They all have like gorgeous little patterns like this. And most importantly, in my mind, they have a little pocket for your phone, which is just very, very convenient. But yeah, highly recommend Sweaty Betty if you're looking for sports leggings. Another little miscellaneous favourite is the fact that I ended up winning a competition for the first time in ever. One of my favourite history Instagram accounts, which is run by Claire Miles, was hosting a little giveaway in honour of Bridgerton season 3, and I ended up winning it, which is very, very nice. And I ended up winning this gorgeous little mug, which I'm not gonna lie, had I not won it, I would have just bought it for myself because it's really cute. And it says, "In my Regency romance era," and it's funny because it's true. I try to be quite sparing with how often I buy mugs, but this one I am very, very pleased with, and I will link down below where you can get this from. I also won a couple of little wax melts, which is very nice and lovely. Unfortunately, per my tenancy agreement, won't be able to use them here, but when I go back home I will definitely be getting on those. And then my final favourite is a food favourite. As I said, last weekend I went to London to meet up with one of my friends who's actually getting married in a couple of weeks. I actually think I will be at her wedding when this video goes out, so that's very nice. And we met up just to catch up for lunch, and we ended up going to this really lovely Sri Lankan restaurant called Hoppers. I think there's 3 of them in London. The one that we went to is in Soho, and they just had such amazing food. Everything was just super, super tasty. I ended up getting some chili garlic broccoli, which was a lot spicier than I thought it was going to be, but I was able to balance everything out by some of the other food we had. We got some of their signature egg hoppers to share, and that kind of cancelled out any of the spice from the broccoli, as well as this lamb kotu roti, which was so, so good. Super, super tasty food. I definitely would like to go back there again. And then we finished off the lunch by going to a gelato shop just to kind of cool things down and bring ourselves back to neutral. Just this little gelato shop near Seven Dials in London, which I highly recommend. It was just a very, very good food day. So if you are about near Soho or Seven Dials, I highly recommend those 2 places. So there we go, that is a little collection of things that I've been loving in the spring months. Do let me know if you have read or watched or listened to any of the things I've spoken to you about today. Alternatively, please do let me know about any of your favourites from spring 2024. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.